Time to look at the two accomplices that were charged along with the Tate brothers, and they are both Romanian women. Meet Georgiana Nagal and Luana Radu. Georgiana's Instagram bio credits her with being Tristan Tate's personal assistant when she was reportedly Andrew Tate's main girlfriend. In a previous life, Georgiana's career was in the country's wine industry. She's a 28-year-old who also holds American citizenship, which carries other extraterritorial implications as we've noted before. Luana Radu is a 32-year-old former Romanian police sub-inspector from Police Station 7 in Bucharest, turned webcam model, who had corrupt colleagues working at local precincts, returning runaway girls to her if they ever ran away from the Tate house. Luana's Instagram porn alter ego account, Ellie Deli, has no photos left intact, they've all been deleted. But it is still active, complete with the direct link to connect with her on Chaturbate, which demonstrates how the system Tate described was designed to work. Their individual and combined roles in the Tate criminal organization as Tate's angels were that of bottom bitches, the women who controlled the accounts of the girls now working on OnlyFans and kept the models working on camera using threats and acts of violence. Their role also included grooming new nervous girls and getting them started online on TikTok to generate a subscription base of men that would then follow them over to OnlyFans, where they would engage in sex acts for money. Both women faced charges alongside the brothers of human trafficking and intent to create a criminal organization for the purpose of human trafficking. The female accomplices, according to the court documents, qualify as human traffickers using the transporting victims through threats of violence for the purpose of sexual exploitation trifecta. And as a bonus point, the girls also subjected the victims to forced labor. The interesting thing about how charges were laid with regards to the bottoms is that they each have a larger number of material counts against them than either of the brothers. Georgiana collected 6 material acts of human trafficking, Luana collected 5, Andrew collected 4, and Tristan only collected 3, despite him saying he was the lead recruiter in the adult industry.
I have recruited, I think, although you've worked with a lot, more girls into, I guess, the adult entertainment industry than anyone else. I really have.
However, because these material acts were combined into a singular, more severe charge, all 4 criminals now face the same charge of human trafficking in a continued form. Out of all 4 of these human diseases, Georgiana is the one who racked up the largest list of charges. On top of her other crimes, she has the added charge of assault or other acts of violence on her sheet, which correspond to the additional charge Tristan has on his sheet of instigation to commit acts of violence against the victim, meaning authorities have proof that Tristan instructed Luana and Georgiana to do physical harm to one or more of the victims. The 2 bottoms have been recorded making serious threats against girls for not making enough content. But this charge may stem from an incident involving one girl in particular who was thrown out in the cold by Georgiana, as Andrew Tate brags about in post calling Gio a total gangster. This victim, initials PCD, was being groomed by both Georgiana and Luana at the TikTok phase of this process and had a falling out with Georgiana with regards to the fact that PCD was already not getting paid for what she posted. She told Gio that she wanted to quit and leave the house. After a discussion with TT, Tristan Tate, where he suggested the victim move into the same house as him, Georgiana falsely accused the victim of being a prostitute and told her that she could leave. However, when they saw she really wanted out, both Tristan and Gio started demanding sums of money from her, which are recorded in the indictment as false debt. They told her that she owed them €2,000, then €5,000, blackmailing her with the sums spent on her breast implants to make sure that she didn't leave. The victim started crying and told them that she was going to go to the police, but Luana Radu, RL, told the victim that she had relations in the police and DICOT and that nothing could happen to her because she previously worked in the gendarmerie. The victim went upstairs to pack her things and was assaulted by Georgiana, who grabbed her by the neck and pushed her under a desk, then grabbed her by the hand and dragged her out of the house half naked. The victim was brought some clothes and her personal phone by another victim with initials AMA, who along with the other girls in the house saw all of this unfold. The victim called a friend named Victor for help, and he advised her to go to the police. She did, and filed a complaint with one of Luana's former colleagues, who told her to reconcile with them. Then he called Georgiana and Luana to the station. When they returned, they brought a small bag of clothing which they threw in the victim's face, and they kept the rest of the victim's belongings, including her laptop, jewelry, and credit cards. To this day, the victim has not recovered any of these kept items. Another witness, initials ASA, is on record as saying when Georgiana dragged the victim out of the house by her arm, Georgiana had said it was with the intent of ripping out the fresh stitches in her breast surgery, the goal being to damage the operation and cause the victim pain without leaving any physical marks on her. The same witness and other girls in the house were then told to bag up whatever possessions the victim still had in the house and then hide them in the attic. Luana also told this victim how her connections in the police department would make sure that nothing ever happened to her. Now, it would seem, that is no longer the case, since these two female enforcers are also facing decades behind bars based on these statements.
Fate, it seems, is not without a sense of irony.
Georgiana is also accused in indictment paragraph 3.3 of gaining unauthorized access to a computer system by using a victim's password to access her social media accounts, and in paragraph 3.4 of modifying that account by inserting photographs capturing the injured person engaged in pornographic activities, garnering her an offense of data integrity alteration. According to private conversations being held in the War Room chat, Tate confirms that Georgiana was recruited into the bottom bitch position for him in June of 2021, as he was trying to break another one of the girls he had recruited. The other major charge on this indictment that covers all four defendants is for forming an organized criminal group, which would mean each of them have contributed in some fashion to the operation to conduct their criminal affairs. From the translated, formal indictment press release, it was held that in early 2021, the four defendants formed an organized criminal group with a view to committing the crime of trafficking in persons on the territory of Romania, but also in other countries such as the United States and the United Kingdom. Here's the perfect example of these people working in tandem together, received just this morning on August 24th. Court-filed evidence posted on a Twitter account for Milk Bar TV. Chat logs between Tristan, Luana, and Georgiana, where the three of them were plotting together as to what to do with the victim who tried to quit, but was instead thrown out of the house into the cold with nothing. It starts with Luana informing the group that the victim was not going to work for them anymore on OnlyFans. Tristan says he'll fire her, but Georgiana gets violent straight away. "I want my money back or I'll cut her breasts." Tristan tells the bottoms to kick her out and take her stuff. Keep all her things, he says, but leave the breasts alone because they cost him 1,500 euros. Looks like he gets a bulk discount from his local plastic surgeon. Luana pipes up that the victim owes them 4,000 euros. Doesn't say what for. Tristan, both of you go, kick her out of the house. Hit her if necessary, I don't care. Don't let her take her things. And Luana agrees. Tristan continues to say keep all the victim's things in Georgiana's car so that the victim can't retrieve them and one of the other girls can't give them to her. Throw her out with nothing. Georgiana, you've seen me do this 10 times. Go and do it now, both of you. Both bottoms tell Tristan they're on their way to deal with this, and Georgiana tells Tristan they're going to do a good cop, bad cop routine on her. This is an organized attack on the victim, coordinating assault and battery and theft against her, multiple people each playing their role. An organized criminal group. Another great example of the coordination required between group members is right here in the instructional videos that Andrew Tate sold online, describing how he works with his bottom to groom new girls from their very first group meeting together. He does not do this on his own.
Let me explain it to you properly. In fact, I'll bring one of the girls who works for me. Your bottom bitch is the one who does the selling. You don't do the selling. The girl has to hear it from a girl. And this is where your bottom bitch has to be trained. That's why I said it's so important to have a good first girl.
He finds the girls to lure them into a relationship, but when it's time to convert the girl into a sex worker, he requires his female counterpart to finish the job for him.
When I bring on new girls, I usually pair them with Vivian. Because Vivian's younger, Melissa's like 28, Vivian's like 21. Vivian's younger, she's more fun, more outgoing. Melissa's really quite, not in a bad way, she's more homey.
So here we have Tate and his bottom, which for at least 6 years was Vivian, who was then replaced by Georgiana, working in tandem to break the victim's resistance to doing webcam work. Then Tristan is also funneling girls he lured into the system as well, presumably using the same tactics as his brother, a brother with whom he shares everything equally: the income, the houses, and the proceeds from their ongoing criminal enterprise.
Every penny that me and Andrew make goes into joint bank accounts. We've shared all of our resources forever. Since we had no money, to now we have a lot of money.
Tristan would likely have his own girl to seduce a drunken victim into bed with him, otherwise he would be sleeping with his brother's bottom to recruit the victims. That being the case, Tristan's bottom bitch was probably Luana. And that's pretty much how the brothers refined their system after 75 girls turned out to be too much of a headache.
So the most girls at any one point, I had 4 premises and I had 75 girls on the books. When I started, the girls worked for me because they loved me. Right? That's the old school pimp game, isn't it? I love this man. We're on our way to the top together. We're going to go Maldives. We're making all this money. You know, it's the old school dream. But when you get too big, you can't have all these girls in love with you. I mean, you can only f so much. Like, we're all human, right? People think it's easy, right? It's not easy. You need equipment. You need to sort out the tax, the banking. You need to know how to handle the guys. It's not easy to do. So I cut down to like a special forces team of around 8 girls. And that's where I made my most money. When I had 4 girlfriends, my brother had 4 girlfriends, me, my brother, 8 women living in one house. And all the women adored us and they obeyed us. And at the peak, I was turning over 400 grand a month.
With 8 girls?
With 8 girls, yeah.
He's all sleeping with the same girls?
No, so he had his 4, I had my 4. We don't mix. We don't mix.
Andrew and his 4 girlfriends lived in the same house with Tristan and his 4 girlfriends doing webcam. The girls did the online sex work and the men raked in the money. In addition to the other charges, Andrew Tate is independently charged with rape in a case that had not been previously investigated. This case involves a Moldovan woman whom Andrew Tate met online in January through Instagram. After she arrived in Romania, Andrew Tate raped her twice to break her down to enlist her into his pornography operation. Authorities have all the communications between Tate and this victim and believe they support criminal charges. Initially, Tate was charged with multiple counts of rape, but when the December charges were reassessed in June of 2023, these 2 rape allegations were combined into a new, more serious charge of rape in a continuous form. The 86-page English version synopsis of charges against the Tates and their organization filed in January of 2023 provide not only the chat logs between the victim and Andrew Tate going back to February of 2022, but also the details she provided to authorities about how, when, and where Tate raped her. The document is Google translated from Romanian court documents, and on occasion they present that way, with incorrect pronouns or words that are laid out awkwardly, and it isn't linear in a timeline, but we'll work with what we've got here, starting on page 39. Also, the initials of people mentioned are arranged surname given name, so John Smith would be SJ instead of JS, as an example. The victim is notated as UA in the document body, but AU in the chat logs. Tate is notated inconsistently between TA, Andrew Tate, and TAE for Emery Tate Andrew. In the chat logs, he is identified as E for Emery. Remember how we told you back in part 1 that Andrew Tate wasn't really named Andrew Tate? This is a time where that becomes important. The relationship between Tate and his victim began at the end of January 2022, when Tate fished her off her Instagram profile. The chats turned romantic, enough so that they met in London when the victim came to visit Tate. After going out for dinner, Tate started working her over with his lure of a serious relationship, which apparently worked well enough to get her into bed. After a week-long tryst, Tate told her he couldn't stay in London any longer, so the victim went back to Moldova. But Tate told the victim to come and visit him in Romania afterwards, which she agreed to, and she was put in touch with Georgiana Nagal, who bought the plane ticket for her that transported that victim to Romania. The relevant chat logs between the two, taken from Tate's WhatsApp account, predate this affair starting on February 4th, where Tate is already telling this woman he's just met that he'll be the last man in her life, if she's loving enough to be his wife, ride or die, and that she'd have to move to Romania to be with him. He's telling her things like, "You are mine, do not forget that, and act like it. We will be together soon." He starts making plans to relocate her to Romania, and she asks him flat out, "But can I trust you?" Just to stop here for a sec, if you have to ask somebody if you can trust them, you probably can't. If your spidey sense is already going off to the point where you even need to ask that question, you should turn around and walk away. This next section, however, should not have only set off alarm bells for her, but also every person who's ever given Tate money needs to listen up here. The victim saw the videos online of Tate selling his online pimp tutorials, and she asked him about them. This is what he told her. Remember the communications the Romanian police were using in their money laundering investigation against the Tates? This is where that transcript comes from. It's going to be read verbatim because these 24 lines are loaded with all the worms that crawl around in Tate's head. You're not stupid, and you probably guess how I make so much money. I have to hide what I really do. Webcam, she asks? Yes, he answers. For a long time, I did this with a team of girls who worked on video chat. The company was fake, but that's how I wash my dirty money. After that, men started to be jealous and started asking me, how can I start a video chat business? They will never do this because they are losers, but they like the idea. So I started charging men to teach them. That's what those videos are about. It's all a cover. You understand? And she answers yes. Now it goes deeper. Some of the girls that work for me, I use them to do other things, to move money, or illegal things, documents, etc. I will never do that with you, but I need those girls for work sometimes. Money stuff. When I said earlier that I need a woman to not hide things from, that's what I meant. If you know the girls, I want you to be really cool with them, friendly. You are on my team to help me. You don't need details about any of this. What I want is to trust me and do as I say, and I will always take care of you. Nothing bad will happen, but you have to be on my side. To recap, the webcam enterprise is a cover that allows Tate to laundry his dirty money, but because losers wanted to learn how to do it, he decided to make money off them by putting together those videos. The victim is told she just needs to trust him, she doesn't need to know the details, and nothing bad will happen to her because she'll be the wife and all the other girls just work for him. Apparently, that explanation worked. Her move to Romania happened in March of 2022, after Tate told her to plan her flight as soon as possible. He probably wouldn't be there when she arrived, but his assistant Georgiana would take care of her until he came back. And that's what happened. The victim flew in, Georgiana picked her up at the airport, and took her back to where the victim would be living. It was not as advertised. The chat logs from 4:30 in the morning of March 2nd, 2022 show the victim's confusion. I'm in a house with some girls who work for G. I said I will stay with G. I feel a little weird. And G said you're probably coming in 5 days? It's too much. I wish you'd tell me things like they are so I know what's going on. What exactly do these girls do? I thought I was coming and we would be together. I understand that it happens, things, but you have to talk to me and tell me so that I don't feel weird then. His response? You don't have to feel weird. I come home as fast as I can. You know I work. Again, she asks, what are these girls doing anyway? I feel stupid for not knowing. I should know, so that I can talk to them and not say something stupid or offend them in any way. He tells her they're doing OnlyFans, bikini and underwear, he tells her, and they make a lot of money doing it. She texts him again at midnight the following day. I want to know why you brought me here to this house. If you respected me, you'd ask me first if I was okay with this. I thought I would come here to live with you. I could stay in London until you return to Romania. I know you have a lot on your mind right now, but my sister is telling me to go back to London because she thinks I'm not safe here, and I'm very confused. I want to know what your plan is. 6 days later, there's no indication that she has seen Andrew since her arrival, but one of the girls with initials B, perhaps Beatrice, wanted her to go on TikTok with her. Tate encouraged her to do that under a false name, and at 6:30 the next day, Tate indicates he watched the clip saying he saw her bouncy breasts and cute smile on TikTok. By March 11th, Georgiana was already pushing the victim to start up her own fake TikTok account. The victim told Tate she doesn't want to work for Georgiana and wanted to talk with Tate first. Tate starts pushing her to open up her own account to keep all the money for herself, with the grander plan of the two of them buying a house together in Romania, and he sends her a real estate link of the house to lure her. He tells her, not only will you have to work hard, but hard enough to inspire the other girls to work even harder. He also tells the victim that Georgiana really likes her, and that they should do a threesome together so that Georgiana would love the victim as a girlfriend. The victim clarifies whether that means TikTok, or if it will include OnlyFans as well, and Tate lies to her. TikTok only, he says. I'll never ask you to do OnlyFans. But of course, you can do OnlyFans if you want to. The chat log jumps to March 29th, and she's calling Tate out. I heard you are the one running the girl business, OnlyFans and TikTok. He replies, T and G are. We're assuming that T is Tristan and G is still Georgiana. But I lead them, he says. So if that's accurate, as of March 29th of 2022, the entire webcam operation was still up and running, with Tate telling the victim he's the lead of the operation, and Tristan and Georgiana are his lieutenants that run the day-to-day. Well, that doesn't line up with the current narrative at all. Here's a small segment of that Candace Owens interview with Tate that we told you about earlier, which not only contradicts what Tate said to his victim on his own electronic device in chats, it shows how Candace is not there to interview Tate. She is there to validate the statements that Tate is making by nodding along and agreeing with his nonsense.
I didn't sell drugs. I didn't kill anybody. I mean, what did I do? I found a gap in the market and I helped some people organize some accounts on an internet website. That's what I did. And they're going to try and criticize me and crucify me for the next 100 years because of it, because of clips that were made 10 years ago. There was a webcam company, and I've talked about it at length on many different podcasts. I had a business. Many girls on there were perfectly fully clothed and would paint pictures or sing and dance and laugh. I've talked about this at length. I've had nothing to do with it for 10 or 11 years and nobody was ever hurt. And I am not sorry for it. I don't see why I should be. I think it's crazy that people aren't even sitting there and going, okay, this guy's been absolutely attacked and from every single angle, and this is the worst they could possibly drag up.
Right. So I agree with you.
The charges are that in 2021, I recruited friends of mine by brainwashing them to steal their TikTok money.
So that's not connected at all to the charges?
Not at all. The webcam studio was shut 4.5, 5 years before I allegedly started this kidnapping gang. So they're not connected.
So you do not run a web business now?
No, absolutely not. And also, none of the alleged victims are girls who've ever worked at my streaming company in the past.
Now, getting back to the court transcripts from the rape victim. On April 4th, the relationship takes a different direction. No more talk of the victim becoming his wife. Now, Tate needs her to be on his team and do what Georgiana tells her. The victim asks, "Is this how our relationship will be, or is it just like that now?" Tate whines about how she is complaining as if he doesn't have enough stress already, playing the victim card. On April 8th, he's now ordering her to stay in the house, that she is not to leave the house by herself without telling him, not even to go to the mall or supermarket. This is the last warning, she's told. The court document then backs up to March 18th of 2022 to describe the first instance of rape against the victim. Although the victim had told Tate while they were in London that she would not agree to group sex, and Tate says he would not impose that on her, and she again told him on this date she did not agree to it, his female groomers worked her over with assurances and wine before Tate arrived at a rented hotel room, and when he arrived, Tate had sex with all of them, despite the victim being dizzy drunk and performing acts that she did not consider normal. Afterwards, she locked herself in the bathroom crying because she realized she had been manipulated. The second rape took place at the OnlyFans house on a night when Tristan Tate showed up with a new girlfriend named Kira. The victim was told to go to her room, and Tate followed her to the room, told her he was going to rape her, demanded she remove her clothes, and then struck her across the face. He continued to carry out acts of violence, telling her he didn't want to hear any more negative messages from her, and that she was lucky to not be locked in the house. He told her he was going to get her pregnant and then lock her in the house, and then she would go crazy. The victim did not want to involve the police because she was afraid Tate would lock her up somewhere if he found out. The victim's statement is that these sexual acts and relations with Tate were not consensual and that he and the other girls manipulated her and made her accept it. An extrajudicial clinical psychologist evaluated this victim, finding her statements to be credible and consistent. The actions of Tate against this victim were systematic to break her down and had important and irreversible consequences on this victim. That report is part of the evidence against the organization and against Andrew Tate specifically for the charge that has been upgraded to rape in a continued form. Now, to go back to a previous segment, the name of this rape victim is Aliona. Aliona is the girl that Emma Gabby was planning on escaping with shortly after her arrival in Bucharest. The call that Emma Gabby's parents made to the American embassy that activated DICOT saved Aliona, a girl they had never met before. After 5 weeks of captivity, she suffered from March 2nd to April 11th of 2022. We want you to remember this segment, how all of this unfolded, because we have to revisit it again in another segment that demonstrates how truly despicable the Tate brothers are. Due to a new treasure trove of material shared with us recently and new events unfolding daily in this trial, to add to the facts of the case that we haven't gotten to yet, we're going to end part 3 here and pick it up again with a finale episode. In the meantime, help us crack the 100,000 subscriber mark and nab the YouTube silver play button by giving this episode a thumbs up, sharing it with your friends, and ringing that notification bell so that you'll know when the Common Sense Skeptic returns.